This week on Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and review show, we take a look at the latest track-ready Corvette, the Z06. Is it a match for the 911 GT3?
Plus an electric Audi and Volkswagen's new coupe crossover, the Taigo.
We also have some two-wheeled action courtesy of Aprilia, and the Ferrari F8 faces off against the best from McLaren. That is all coming up. But first, the news.
A number of the world's biggest car makers have turned down a proposal to cease petrol and diesel car production globally by 2035 at the COP26 conference in Glasgow. Both of the two biggest manufacturers in the world, Volkswagen and Toyota, have said they will not sign up to the deal, with VW claiming that it isn't feasible for countries that lack renewable energy sources and EV infrastructure. Meanwhile, many manufacturers have signed up. Jaguar Land Rover, Mercedes, Ford and Chinese company BYD all support the proposal to end ICE production by 2035.
Coupe SUVs, it seems, are all the rage, and while premium brands have been setting the trend for a while now, we're slowly starting to see the slope-to-roofed design trickle down the automotive food chain with cars like the Renault Arcana and now this, the all-new Volkswagen Taigo. Based on the VW South American models, the Taigo is the smallest and cheapest way into coupe SUV ownership, with a starting price of less than £22,000. It makes use of VW's MQB A0 platform, which underpins the Polo, T-Roc and T-Cross, the Taigo's more conventional sibling. As a result, it gets a familiar selection of engines ranging from a 94 brake horsepower 1-litre 3-pot to a 148 brake horsepower 1.5 motor that'll power the little Taigo from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 8.3 seconds. The main draw for buyers, though, with any coupe SUV is the styling. Unfortunately, however, it seems that VW didn't get that memo. It looks more like a tall hatchback than a coupe, and less funky than the cheaper, more practical T-Cross. There are three different versions of the Taigo to choose from. The entry-level Life model that comes as standard with plenty of kit. This, the Taigo R-Line, which gets somewhat sportier styling with big wheels and aggressive bumpers, and this, the Taigo Style, which adds roof rails, an LED light bar across the front grille and privacy glass. All models come loaded with tech including semi-autonomous adaptive cruise control, fatigue detection, a multi-function camera and an 8-inch digital cockpit, although you can get a bigger 10-inch version on the R-Line. Currently, there aren't really any direct rivals to the Taigo, but there are plenty of stylish small SUVs that make do without the coupe roofline, namely this, the Ford Puma.
Eye-catching and great to drive, the Taigo will do well to win buyers away from Ford's smash-hit crossover. All models are loaded with kit and terrific to drive, although it can feel a little cramped for taller passengers. And then there's this, the Mazda CX-30. Our favourite crossover thanks to its blend of high-quality interior, relaxed driving style and affordability. It looks superb too, with plenty of influence from the 3 hatchback, but it's inside the cabin where you really notice the designer's hard work. The sculpted dash adopts a minimalist approach with a sporty 3-spoke steering wheel and some fabulous front seats. High-spec cars get two-tone leather that feels as soft as anything from BMW or Mercedes. Under the bonnet, there is just one engine option, a bigger 2-litre motor available with either 120 or 178 brake horsepower.
The Taigo then may bring a desirable body style to a more affordable part of the market, but it seems there are still plenty of competitors for it to beat.
In the past couple of years or so, we've seen more new cars than we expected from Maranello. We've had a new Grand Tourer, the impossibly elegant Roma, designed to take on the best from Aston Martin. Then we've had the ballistic 812 GTS, a convertible version of the aptly named 812 Superfast. And the cherry on the cake was perhaps the SF90 Stradale, Ferrari's first foray into a series production hybrid with 1,000 horsepower and a near 400,000 price tag. Today, though, we're looking at an altogether more conventional Ferrari, the F8 Tributo. And by that, we don't mean for a second that this is a dull or uninteresting car. Far from it. But the F8 represents Ferrari's bread and butter. A compact supercar with a V8 engine in the middle, 2 seats at the front, all wrapped up in some glorious carbon fibre bodywork. So then, the F8 pays tribute to countless mid-engined Berlinettas of the past. Maranello has already announced that it's working on a new V6, so this could well be the last time we see this kind of drivetrain in a Ferrari. The 3.9-litre twin-turbocharged V8 puts out 710 brake horsepower, with drive being sent to the rear wheels via a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. 0 to 62 is dealt with in just 2.9 seconds, while 0 to 124 miles per hour takes just 7.8 seconds on its way to a top speed of 211. But that incredible speed is not a result of brute force alone, with the F8 being 10% more aerodynamically efficient than its predecessor, the 488 GTB. It creates more downforce too, with Ferrari resisting the temptation to use vulgar big wings and splitters, instead using clever design to create a truly beautiful and functional shape. It may look quite similar to the 488 in silhouette, and indeed the 458 that came before that, but look closer and this is one of the prettiest Ferraris we've seen in years. A clear evolution of the old cars? Yes, but with its slimmer headlights, new pod taillights, and 812-inspired rear end, the F8 looks utterly timeless, yet completely modern. The interior has been updated too, with a new dash, a touchscreen in front of the passenger, and a new smaller steering wheel, albeit one still festooned with buttons and switches. However, while it may be a bit confusing to use, there's one switch that stands out. The Manettino allows you to switch between the various drive modes, ranging from wet, which leaves all the driver aids well and truly on, to race, which optimises the car for track driving. For those feeling brave, you can turn everything off to get the full Ferrari experience. The F8 gets some new tech too, most notably the side slip angle control system, which makes it easier than ever to slide the car around.
However, the Ferrari doesn't have the market to itself. This is the McLaren 720S, and on paper, it's a very close match for the F8. Its 4-litre V8 puts out the same 710 brake horsepower, although it shaves off a tenth of the 0 to 62 time at 2.8 seconds. It also beats the Ferrari's top speed by 1 mile per hour at 212. While it may not quite have the exquisite good looks of the Italian Ferrari, its interior is excellent. A masterclass in minimalism, the layout is much simpler than the Ferraris, with everything falling easily to hand. Like the Ferrari, the McLaren is packed full of go-faster technology. The variable drift control system lets you decide just how much the car will let the back end go, making even the most average of drivers look like a sideways hero. Both of these cars start at north of £200,000, but be warned, even a quick glance at the options lists can add another 100 grand easily, especially if you want your car decorated with lots of exposed carbon fibre.
Picking between these two really is down to personal preference. They're both spaceships and joyous expressions of what's possible with V8s and turbochargers. Of course, you don't need anything faster for the public road, but McLaren has built a more powerful, lighter version of the 720S called the 765 LT, while Ferrari will no doubt bring along a more track-focused F8 in the near future. For now, though, both of these cars represent the pinnacle of internal combustion, something we think should be celebrated while it still can be.
After the break, bikes, EVs and V8s with Aprilia, Audi and the new Corvette Z06.
Coming up, Chevrolet's cut-price supercar. But first, some fun on two wheels.
This is the Aprilia RS660, a motorcycle that aims to reinvent what we think a sports bike should be. It's been designed to be as thrilling as an RSV4 superbike, but with the same level of comfort as you'd expect from a touring bike. It's the crossover of the motorcycle world, if you will. It even uses what is essentially the front half of the RSV4 engine, the same found in the new Tuono. It's a fun power plant and really punches out of corners when you need it to. Aprilia states the 660 platform represents the start of a new lightweight and high-performance era. And now Aprilia has used the same engine to power this, the 660 Tuareg. A reinvention of the 125 Tuareg from the 1980s, the new model has been designed to be a usable bike both on and off-road. Ergonomically, the rider sits very upright, ideal for long distances, but the 80 horsepower twin-cylinder engine is plenty should you decide to open the throttle. On the road, it feels like a supermoto bike, light, nimble, and with great change of direction, but it's off the road where it really comes alive. With 240mm of suspension travel, treaded tyres and electric throttle, it feels predictable and confidence-inspiring. The navigation tower and high windscreen also feel very Dakar. Other aids include cruise control, ABS and traction control, while the claimed economy of 60 mpg means this could be an everyday bike for a commuter. This, coupled with the easy riding position and fun factor, makes the Aprilia Tuareg the ultimate all-rounder.
It's been 2 years now since we first saw Volkswagen's ID.3 and with it, the brand's electric MEB platform. Since then, we've seen it appear on the ID.4, the Skoda Enyaq and even a new Cupra. Now though, it's Audi's turn, and this is what they've come up with. It's called the Q4 E-TRON. Q4 representing its place in the brand's SUV lineup, and E-TRON denoting its electric powertrain. To the untrained eye, unlike the ID.3, it isn't obviously an electric car. It all looks fairly conventional, and there's even what appears to be a big grille at the front. It is a handsome car though, and one which stands out from the Q3 and Q5 between which it sits in the range. It's a chunky looking car with a low roofline, but for style-conscious buyers there's also a coupe version called the Q4 Sportback. This sacrifices some practicality in the name of looking good, with tapered rooflines creating a rakish, sporty silhouette. Inside, the Q4 gets a modern driver-centric layout with the big infotainment screen and controls angled towards the driving seat. The drive selector sits on a floating panel, giving you some extra space below it. There are 3 different powertrain options to choose from. The entry-level 35 model gets a 52 kWh battery, 168 bhp and a 208-mile range. Next up is the 40. It costs around £4,000 more and gets a bigger 77 kWh battery, 201 brake horsepower and a much improved range of 316 miles. This middle-of-the-range model is the one to go for if you want maximum mileage from your Q4. If you're more interested in performance though, the top spec 50 uses the same battery, but power is increased to 296 bhp. The range drops to just below 300 miles, but it will hit 62 miles per hour from rest in 6.2 seconds. That isn't exactly rapid in the world of EVs, but it is quick enough in a family SUV. So how does it compare against this, BMW's new iX3?
Well, unlike the Audi, the BMW is not built on a bespoke EV platform, rather on that of a conventional internal combustion-powered X3. It does get a few styling tweaks though to help it stand out from its petrol-powered counterparts. The front bumper has been smoothed over and the kidney grills have been filled in to improve the aerodynamics in the name of efficiency. To further aid this, it gets some aero alloy wheels which improve the car's drag coefficient by around 5%. The interior is near enough identical to the standard X3s, apart from a few flashes of blue and an iX3 badge on the centre console. It may not be quite as flashy as the Audi's cabin, but while the design is starting to feel its age, everything is logical, easy to use and well put together. However, while the iX3 is a little bit bigger than the Q4, it's a lot more expensive. Prices start at over £60,000 and the 282-mile range isn't spectacular.
It seems then that the Audi Q4 e-tron has the BMW beaten on value for money. But with more and more competitors entering this segment of the market, time will tell if the Q4 is the electric mid-size SUV to beat.
It's been a couple of years now since we first saw the new C8 Corvette Stingray, and it seems the mid-engine layout has gone down a storm. The waiting lists are full, while cars that do find themselves on the used market are selling above MSRP. And now the demand is about to get even higher with this, the new Chevrolet Corvette Z06, a light and stiffened version designed to be more at home on the track. Chevy is keeping the performance figures in its back pocket for now, but it has let slip some of the specs. Behind the seats sits the world's most powerful naturally aspirated V8, directly derived from the IMSA race car. It's a very modern power plant. Gone are the days of push rods for the Corvette. It gets double overhead cams, a flat plane crank, forged pistons and titanium conrods, allowing it to rev all the way up to 8,600 RPM. Power? 670 bhp. Of course, to handle the extra grunt, the Z06 gets some chassis and aero tweaks, with new wheels and tyres, brakes and suspension. Increased downforce comes courtesy of a new rear wing and a wider front splitter with canards.
However, the Corvette has always had a big rear-engined problem, the Porsche 911. But with this latest Z06, is the best America has to offer finally a match for the equivalent Porsche, the GT3? Well, for starters, the German performance stalwart eyed on power versus the Vette. It makes do with 503 brake horsepower, although it is lighter, achieving 62 from rest in 3.4 seconds.
The Z06 then will do well to keep up with the Porsche, but if any American car can, this must surely be the one.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial for the return of a motoring icon, the Mercedes SL.